Hello everybody. Welcome to my planner crisis video. If you've watched my pocket rings flip and my Hobonichi flip, you'll notice I am in a planner crisis, okay? So this is my backup bujo that I jump in and out of intermittently as I need to. It was on my shelf for a long time and I remember panicking in March going, oh my God, nothing's working and I'm not getting anything done and it's too overwhelming. And so I just jumped in here for March, which was great. And then I jumped back out of this. Again, it's just a blank Leuchtturm B6 Slim, but I am back into it. And then I got into it a little bit in May, and then I haven't picked it up since May 17th. So really 1 to 2 months. I just need to go back to my roots, which was a B6 Slim Leuchtturm that I used with my very first bullet journal, because it's just so slim and it's so easy and it doesn't take me long because how I plan doesn't change. So why this system is no longer working. Earlier this year, I had to kind of separate out my sort of all-in-one. So previous, I had a bunch of B6 chunky blank notebooks that I would fill up over the course of 2 or 3 months. From July 2023 to beginning of November 2023, I filled up almost 500 pages in a B6 notebook between planning and journaling and note-taking and all of the things, because I would just write whatever I needed to write and use however many pages I needed to use, and there were no rules. Then between November and December, I filled up another 200 plus page Planner Monkey Co. Freely Noted. And then between January of 2024 and mid-March of this year, I nearly filled up another 500 page B6 Sterling ink notebook. And that's when my brain started to break. Part of the reason why that notebook stopped working for me is it got so thick so fast because I was writing so much in it. And I realized that because everything was going in there, I was really overwhelmed with organizing stuff. Okay, so in comes the Hobonichi Cousin, which I cut down to B6. This is a spring start to get back into just journaling. And then I made my rings, rather than my reference notebook, I made it a full functioning planner. I was in personal wide, and then I was in personal with Franklin Covey Compact, and then I switched to pocket. So this has been since March a combination of this plus a rings binder as the main. Now there is an A6 5-year in here, but I don't really count that because that's an A6 5-year. There you can write like 2.5 things in there. And it's more for memory keeping, big ideas of the day, stuff like that. So this summer was for some reason very challenging for me from a productivity standpoint. And I think it's because I had too much going on personally. I traveled a decent amount, plus I was training a new team member starting in May. And whenever you train a new team member and bring somebody in, it takes about 2 to 3 months for that efficiency to really get to a point where you're now seeing the benefit of bringing that on. So when you bring somebody on, it slows you down. But I still had to keep up with a bunch of things. So I was traveling and training a new team member, but also having to maintain the volume of work that I was doing while teaching somebody else how to pick up some of the tasks that I was doing, right? And then on top of the travel, which was, all the trips are super fun, but I need to be more judicious. I thought I was already being judicious with my travel time, but I think I just need to continue to be more conscious of it and take what I think I want to do and at least take out one thing. You know what I mean? Say no to at least one thing. Don't say yes to every single thing you get invited to, your friends want to go do, or your significant other even wants to go do. Anyway, or prioritize it differently. For me, I would want to rather prioritize a trip with my boyfriend at this point because of our schedules. We try to take these trips and do these things together just for the sake of our relationship and our home life. And that's obviously extremely important to both of us. So prioritizing that and then maybe adding in one additional personal or work/personal trip. So what's been happening since about the end of July, now into this first full week of August plus, we're finally at the point with my team member where I am now able to pick up the volume of tasks, projects, add some new things, trying new things, discovering new things, my workflows. Oh, I even wrote it down in my notebook here of why it's not working. So more volume with bigger routines, with more detail. So spending more time on certain things, with more detail of the process, especially with follow-up and project management. I'm refining the workflow for a lot of things, and I've had a lack of time to set things up to better manage the bigger routines with more detail. So what's been happening is I've been doing a lot of digital jumps just into the Notes app on my phone. So what ends up happening is I'll get to about every 2 to 3 days, a point where I just go through anything that's on my to-do list and I put it in a note on my phone, and then I mark that day as marked, because I'm like, okay, the information is now in front of me and I can reorganize it in a way that makes sense so I can prioritize it, okay? Because when I write down to-do lists, they look like this. They're just a list of whatever drops to my mind first. There's no organization to them at all. And yes, I know I put too many things on my task list for Friday, but I didn't know what I was actually gonna be able to get to or what was gonna potentially take precedence. So anyway, here's the work inbox for this weekend and the personal inbox for this weekend, but everything else is still in a digital note because there was no way that I could write everything down. Like, there are like 50 things on my work inbox. Some that's short term, some that's long term. And in my personal inbox, it's the same. There's about 30 to 40 things. Some that is multiple steps, some that is a one and done situation, but I just haven't done it because my brain is so overwhelmed. So I'm currently using my backup Bujo, which again, my first foray into bullet journaling was in a B6 Leuchtturm, which was amazing. I filled it up again in about 2 months because I write so many things down. These books are only like 122 pages long. They do have like a built-in index at the front, which is great, but like I don't really use that right now because this is more for helping me sort things out in the immediate. But why not stay in rings for the rest of the year, or at least for the rest of the month? Because this journaling is helping me emotionally regulate. This was helping me keep track of my tasks, but I hate the overwhelm of carrying these two things together, especially because I have 2 other notebooks that I use 2 to 3 days a week that live at my desk. One is my research notes, so any courses or master classes or education that I do, I actually take physical notes. That's an A5 Stalogy, and then I have a B6 Stalogy, so whatever book I'm reading for professional development, I always have thoughts on them, and I don't want it in my planner because it might take me 4 or 5 months to finish a professional development book because it just takes longer to read those. I'm not reading on my personal time. I'm usually carving out 20 to 30 minutes a day of my work time. It's a good brain break for me. I'll sometimes read during my lunch, and so I get through them a lot slower because I'm not just reading at smaller intervals, but I'm also writing down my thoughts as I go. So I have that in its own separate book, which has been really working for me. So at my desk, I've got this, because I micro journal as the day goes on, plus this, plus an A5 Stalogy off to the side, plus a B6 Stalogy off to the side. So do you see where I was just getting, 1, physically overwhelmed, but also 2, as much as I live in my dailies, I need to take the time to be able to sort out my project planning in a different way. And so what I'm currently doing is using the notes on my computer and this B6 bullet journal and kind of cross-referencing the two. I still have to physically write things down. I can't ever be like a fully digital task management person. I have to have a place to write things down, but I also have to have in some way, shape, or form like a master task list. There's no way the master task list would have fit in my personal rings. Not only that, but some of the things that I'm tracking in rings that have been useful for me to track for a while now are no longer serving me, so I don't need something with quite that many sections. So not only that, but I'm kind of craving just having everything in one book again. So I don't want to live in this book. This is the oh shit book, so this is what I will hop in and out of over time until it's done, when I don't know what else to do. And I love that they have a little pocket in the back. So I have all my stickers and some of my notes from my pocket rings in here that I didn't want to lose. It's in here. And what I am gonna do is I'm gonna transfer into a standard size TN notebook, but not like individual traveler's notebook inserts, because I actually hate those with a passion of 10,000 suns, except for the one journal that I use them for, which is my grief and therapy journal. That is the only context in which I enjoy them. Otherwise, I need like actual bound book. So what I did was, after deciding this, I was trying to decide, so like I could have picked up like a Sterling ink like half year B6 for the rest of this year, but I get bored and I like the change every couple of months. So what I did was I ordered, Sydney put on a sale that her notebooks were 50% off because she's trying to clear out her stock for the new stuff that's coming. So my grief journal with the Midori Travelers lined inserts that I do love for journaling, for my grief and therapy journaling, is in a Sojourner cover with strings, okay? My novel writing TN, which is the mist blue Sterling ink, 272 page, that is in a Elysian paper cover, and it fits perfectly. Like, we're not changing anything. So I actually ordered a custom Naya papery, because what I will also do with that is I like to log things like my spending, like my health, what workouts I'm doing, so I can see kind of how the month is going, stuff like that. I do want to be able to put a couple of extra booklets behind my main planner, so that way all the information stays together over the course of the next 5 months, right? Like, I will use the Planner Monkey Co. notebook that is monthly pages plus an extra 192 notes pages. That will be done in 8 weeks or less. So that's why I bought 2 of them, because I'm like, that's perfect. That'll get me through September through December for the most part, right? If I pace myself. And if I don't, then boo-hoo, I use a different random ass book. Maybe I just jump back in here for December. You know what I mean? So I also have some undated 6-month, very thin inserts coming from Good Ink Pressions for those weekly logs that I want to keep for myself. That is the information that I want to see more over the long term. And so I did need something that would fit a couple of extra inserts, but not too many, that would get thick, in addition to the book. I love Naya Papery. Her leathers are also thicker, but I really like the style of her TN notebook because it has the type of pockets that I would find useful for something like a daily driver. So I'm really excited because I got the suede block on the outside, I got velvet cotton on the inside, I got a super extra chunky snap, and then I'm getting a little dragon embossed on the front. And I'm so excited because part of the struggle was, I know I'm gonna have a black notebook, a coffee notebook, a blue notebook that are all that standard TN size. And I love the standard TN size in a notebook, not necessarily in the inserts themselves, but the notebooks that like Planner Monkey Co. and Sterling Ink make that are thicker. Oh my God, they're so good. So once that is in, I'll show you. But the other thing that I know I need to probably do is play around with some digital project management, and then use my dailies in here, in whatever notebook I'm in. I pulled these in from my pocket because I was like, I'm not done with this yet, and this is my spending from August. So whenever I do a daily in here, what I'll do is I'll have like sort of a reconciliation between the digital and the manual. I don't know what tool I'm gonna use yet. Once I have an idea of what that's gonna look like, of what that sort of hybrid planning looks like, I'll let you know. I already kind of do a bit of hybrid planning, if you will, because I rely heavily on my Google Calendar because I have 4 different Gmails that actually populate into my iCal. So I guess I rely heavily on my iCal as a master calendar that pulls all of my calendars in. But for project management, I need to figure out a way to better manage my projects. I do use ClickUp with my assistant, and so I'm playing with what that would look like for myself. And I also need to play around with how I'm managing my Airtable databases because now I have so much more on the marketing side that I'm doing. Like today, I'm recording not just 2 podcast episodes, but I'm also recording some actual YouTube videos that aren't related to the podcast for my YouTube channel that I started for my business, because we started putting the podcast on YouTube, but we're trying to do 1 or 2 videos a month to start with to try to increase engagement. That's what I'm sort of learning how to do this month. I did a bunch of research. I got some tools that will help me better make recordings in the more aesthetic spaces in my workspace. I'm playing around with that. How does the scripting work? How do I set up a teleprompter? How do I do all that stuff? That's stuff that takes me extra time to do. And once I figure out what that workflow is, I have now multiple steps of things that I start and then they go to somebody else for finalization. Like they go back to my assistant. For the podcast, it will be for YouTube. It's the same for social media because I'm doing Instagram, and I also added my Facebook group again. And there's so many things happening. Plus my client delivery, that workload is continuing to increase, which I'm so excited about. I'm not really honestly worried about the client delivery aspect of things because I have my coaching strategies so well honed for how I take people step by step to get results. Like my framework for coaching is so locked in that adding more clients doesn't necessarily add like a bajillion hours of more work because I've gotten so good at the intake, at vetting clients before they even sign up. The intake is flawless. The first few weeks, I've got down exactly what I need to see from people so we can plan for the future. But as you grow, part of what you need to do is marketing. And this is the thing that business owners sometimes have to learn the hard way is you're never gonna do less marketing than you're doing today. I'm always gonna have to do more. And once I figure out what that more is, as my business grows, then I will probably hire on a specific person to do the marketing and like media management. Although Jackie does a really good job of that and I can still add hours to her, like she's only doing 30 hours a week. So if I brought her up to 40 hours a week, that would increase her role for marketing. But I'm at the point where I'm having quarterly marketing meetings, which is a great place to be. Like, this is my business, it's growing, but every time you are adding in more volume and more detail and follow up with bigger routines and new workflows, things kind of break a little bit and you have to fix them back together, and it takes a little bit of time to figure that out. And for me, as much as I don't like using digital task management, I think I'm gonna have to find a way to marry the two. So if you have any tips on that, any apps that I could check out, any ideas, things like that, I still wanna use like this for day-to-day, like inbox of things that I need to do. What I'll probably do then is look at my project management, go, okay, what is priority this week? Okay, let me check in with everything on a day-to-day basis, cool. What did I do? What can I check off? What's in the digital that I need to pull in here so I have it in front of me? I feel like digital only shows you like a snapshot, and this still helps me get the big overview of what's happening this week, this day. I can't see myself without this, but also I want to be able to, what's gonna probably happen is very similar to how my bullet journal was set up at the beginning of the year. The monthlies for Planner Monkey Co. are already pre-dated. There's 12 of them. I obviously won't use all 12, but what I'm planning on doing is setting up one for project management or like big ideas of what I need to work on which week, and then another one for just like workouts overview. So I'll use probably 2 or 3 monthly. So I'll set up 2 versions of September, but I'll track different things in like each month. Does that make sense? And then I'll definitely have some like monthlies at the end, which is totally fine. But then I'll do enough for day on 2 page here, because I like to keep a daily timeline of everything. So I'll do it very similarly to how my Pocket is set up. So my Pocket is currently set up like this, where it's my work list and a daily timeline and then notes. And I usually put my personal to-dos over here. So what will probably happen is it'll go work to do, daily timeline, notes, and then this is just any additional stuff that has to happen or things that I write down. Then any additional pages in the back will be for journaling, like the micro journaling. Because again, sometimes I want like a whole day. Sometimes I only have 2 or 3 things to write down. Sometimes I have nothing to write down. Sometimes I have a lot to write down. So I should have enough room to fit 2 months. And actually, I'll also have enough room. I figured out from the page numbers, I'll also be able to do a weekly overview. Again, I need the events overview and then workouts, cleaning, vitamins, personal inbox, like, you know, or priorities for the week. I need to see that at a glance. I don't really use, like I said, a monthly the way that people would typically use monthlies because of my Google Calendar. I'll use those monthlies for logging additional things, but then I'll have my weeklies, my dailies, and then a little bit of room for journaling in the back. And that will be nice because then I can just have one book to carry around with me daily. And then all of my other books can live at my desk with my computer, and I'm not lugging around this every day. So that's my current planner crisis. If you have any tips on digital tools, things that you think might be helpful for me, I'm all ears because it's been years since I've used a digital tool myself. I know what it looks like for my team, but I don't know what it looks like for me. And so this is very new territory. But yeah, that's my planner crisis. And I'm so excited though to show you. I could imagine that everything will be here by the end of August for me to use by September, maybe with the exception of the booklets that I ordered from Good Ink Impressions, since those sometimes take a little bit longer and they come from Spain. But like Naya Paperie, Nesrin usually turns those around pretty fast. I've ordered custom from her before, and it's like a 2-week turnaround. And then Planner Monkey Co., I know my pre-order hasn't shipped yet, but like the actual notebooks, again, she processes those within like 2 to 3 weeks, and then once they ship, they arrive pretty fast. So I gave myself enough time to have everything that I need by the end of August. So until then, I'll just be messing around in this dude. I'm not gonna talk about the A6 5-year because I don't even know what I think about it. I did this. That's for future. This is this weekly overview. And then planner crisis notes, I did that. But hey, look at this. I started this, I recorded this, I recorded this, I recorded this. Now I gotta do my YouTube videos and then my podcast. Wish me luck. I'm gonna have no voice by the end of the day. Love you guys, mean it, talk soon.